Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, narrated by Disney or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it, Legends. Now, I am wearing the same shirt as last video. That's because it's in the same day, because I blew through these pretty quickly, so that's why. I only have a couple things to mention today. Up next will be a novel. Um, and the last X-Wing novel we'll read for quite some time, but yeah, some things I have to mention. So there's this thing, not necessary in the slightest. I don't even know if it counts as EU, but it was in a timeline that I was looking up, so I'm just gonna mention it. Castaways of Endor. It seems to be an in-universe like documentation of the life on Endor, and it's a little decent thing. It's nice to actually have like some explanations of some of these, more mystical seeming things within the like TV universe of Ewoks and stuff. And it even says that all the people who are using magic on Endor, the Jedi never. I mean, we had Luke who came to Endor, but no one has really tried to teach any of the inhabitants there about the Force. So they've all kind of come up with their own like mystical beliefs about stuff, but it's all just the Force. They are all just Force adepts. If they're using magic, it's the Force. But yeah, it's a decent little thing. Not necessary, but it was cute, and I enjoyed it. Then we have, for a short story, Shades of Grey by Charlene Newcomb. It's the final story of Alex Winger. Do you care? Probably not. This story is okay. Alex Winger, the rebel girl, rebel spy, do do do. Um, I mean, this story is decent. This one I liked more than most of the Alex Winger stories. It's not bad. Um, this one's actually probably the most emotionally compelling for the character, especially if you've been really enjoying the character. I mean, it was fine. I don't really like the character, so it's, but I mean, there's the story beats there. It's got something. There, she betrayed her father or her stepfather, or not her like adopted father, because he was staunchly for the empire and she was going against his back the whole time. And she's confident in her resolve that what she's doing is right, but she still feels bad that she had to betray her father and stuff like that. So you have all that going on. The only big revelation at the end of this is that she realizes that her father has died, and so she's like, did he forgive me? Did he, understand why I was doing the things that I did and all that stuff. So it's a decent little story. Basically, it ends with Alex Winger heading to Yavin so she could become one of Luke's students, I guess. She's probably one of the thousands of people that, or trillions of people that died during New Jedi Order. She probably got butt chumped by a Vong. So as long as we're aware, hell, she might even be around during the Jedi Academy video game. She's just somewhere on Yavin, learning about the Force. So that's how her story ends. I'm sure you were all desperate to know how Alex Winger's story in in the short stories ended, but this is how it ends. Alex Winger, if you don't know, if you're just watching this video for some reason, um, Alex Winger has had several stories throughout, the adventure journals where she is this rebel girl helping the rebellion underneath her father's nose. Do do do. And it's boring, and I didn't care, but she's around, she's doing stuff. She kisses Luke in one short story. That's funny. And now she's going to the academy. So that's as far as I'm aware, the end of Alex Winger's story. So there you go. If you cared, this is where you would kind of place it. Then we have Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast, the video game. What is the plot of this epic game? Well, we play as Kyle Katarn yet again, and one of the many of Luke's failed students, Desan, the dinosaur race, has decided to launch an attack against the Jedi Academy, but first harnessing the power of the Valley of the Jedi. And so he kidnaps Jan Ors, pretending that she was murdered because, in case Kyle died, they needed somebody who knew the location of the valley, and that the only other person that they know of is Janor, so they weren't going to kill her. Anyway, but that's what Kyle thinks, and he wants revenge. He knows, ever since the events of the time with Mara Jade, he hasn't really been using the Force. He's kind of just going back to being a smuggler for the New Republic and helping them out with missions. And again, this game starts with Mon Mothma talking to them, which is again like, where do you place this? But I'm just gonna place it here. Leave me alone. I think it's okay. Anyway, so he goes out. He goes to Yavin. He meets up with Luke Skywalker. We get to see Luke Skywalker, and he goes through trial. He's able to regain his lightsaber, and he goes on a quest to get revenge. Of course, he'll drop that by the end, but meanwhile, he'll go to Cloud City. He'll get to hang out with Lando Calrissian for a bit. Um, he'll go and beat up a couple of Dasans, like minions. And still struggling with the dark side. It's that's one of the things that Kyle has to deal with a lot. He'll eventually realize that Janor's is fine. He will then go to Yavin because even though Yavin, if replacing it where I placed it, which is after Darksaber, got attacked just by freaking the Imperials, is now getting attacked by this dude, Dasan, and of course Kyle Katarn defeats them, and he's all good and great, and he's like, I deserve a vacation with my lovely girl here, Jan Ors, but maybe one day I'll come and finally be at the academy, which in the next game he will be because he'll be a teacher at the academy. So that's pretty much it. It's a decent little story. It's more fun to play anything. The thing about video games back in the day is they didn't really make them super story heavy. Like KOTOR 1 and 2 and SWTOR are probably the most story heavy video games of Star Wars. Everything else, is a pretty simple plot, and that simply is the plot of the game. Then you have all the gameplay sections, which I wasn't going to discuss, obviously. But some notable things. He goes to a bar at one point, and there's a Chiss bartender. I just think that's kind of cool. But yeah, and the fact that we get to see Yavin visually, you know, we don't get to see much of it. And what's kind of cool about the next game, Jedi Academy, is you actually get to see like students like practicing and whatnot. And that's fun. But yeah, it's a decent little story with Kyle Katarn, and it's one of the few times we get to see visually, the post Return of the Jedi era. So definitely worth your time if you can check it out. If you don't want to like play the game, like watch cutscenes on YouTube or something, but definitely check it out. It's fun. Though it hasn't aged the best looking, but it's fun. Then we have Star Wars Jedi Academy, the 4-issue comic, Leviathan. Basically, I think this one's really fun because it mainly focuses on Kip, but it is just this little story where they go to this planet which has been devastated by something, and you find out there's these couple Sith Leviathans, which is more of an Old Republic thing because like Carnus and Moore and stuff would make like these like horrific monster things back in the day. Sith, as like the Darth Bane trilogy and onward, they didn't really use Sith alchemy that much. I think Darth Zana was one of the last ones to use it, and so that sort of stuff just isn't that common anymore. But so they basically get to fight like a Godzilla thing, and you got Streen, you got Krana T, you got Dorsk 82, which is another thing. They introduced Dorsk 82 as basically a replacement for Dorsk 81, and it is different enough, like he feels like he's in the shadow of his former self, which is fine, I guess. And theoretically, I guess if he's a clone and 81 had midichlorians and the other ones didn't, theoretically, if they're cloning from Dorsk 81, which is how they reproduce, they just clone everybody. But the whole mystery was, well, Dorsk 81 just magically, he just it, 80 clones before him did not have the Force, but he did. But we know because of the prequels that means he has midichlorian. I mean, everybody has midichlorians, but it has to be high enough to actually influence the Force. So the first 80 might have had the potential, but they never unlocked it. 81 did. So it's not inherently a problem that Dorsk 82 does have access to the Force. It does kind of ruin the mystique and the interestingness of 81 being unique. And he's not the same character, but it is a little annoying to me, but it's okay. But yeah, it's just you don't need this. It's nothing special. It's nothing amazing. It's just this little story. But the fact that I get to see Kip and everyone throw down was pretty fun. So I don't know. I think it's worth checking out. Last but not least, we have Third Time Pays for All, which is a Crimson Empire prequel. I don't have much to say about it. It's this little comic that I mean, you can find it in the Crimson Empire Epic Collection if you bought, that. It was originally like a Dark Horse annual from 2011 or something, but it's just this little story with you know, not Carter, yeah, Carter Jacks, um, or Kennick's Kill, collecting a bounty, and Meredith Zinn saying how she wants revenge on him. And that's pretty much it. Just setting up what's going to happen with three. I guess we can say, if we're counting this comic, that before Planet of Twilight, we knew that sometime before Black Fleet Crisis, because Black Fleet Crisis confirms it. But here, um, he knows that Vader was Luke's father. So, I guess that cat's out of the bag, because that's now common knowledge, I guess. So I guess it was about here where they finally figured out that, or I guess the entire galaxy learned that, Leia and Luke are Vader's kids. But that might be a little inconsistent. I don't know. But that's pretty much it, guys. Just a little thing here to talk about, not too much. But up next, we have a full on novel, the last X Wing novel we'll read about for quite some time, which is Starfighters of Adumar by Aaron Olston. So until then, guys, may the Force be with you.